So the next step of our Django REST framework video, we're going to complete our views.py and add other methods of our RESTful API. We had get method, so we're also going to, and also we had the post method instead of other class. So in this one, we're going to also add update or put, in other words, so we're going to name it put. Also, we're going to add the delete function, so def put, and so we're going to get attributes like self, and they're going to be just the same as above for the get function. So generally, a put function is the mixture of get function and also the post function. So I'm going to explain how it does work. So the first code that we need to write here is nearly the same as what we wrote for get. So we're going to first get the object and also check whether the instance exists. So this is related to our get function. This is going to be exactly the same as what we had. So we're going to check when the user requests with the specific user ID for a specific to-do ID, then we will check whether that instance exists, and if it does exist, it's going to be otherwise, and it will continue. And if it does not exist, it will return a response like this, and it's going to be a bad request status. So now we're going to continue, and we're going to so this part is just like our post request. So we're going to create our data dictionary. So we're going to get the new data that the user is going to actually add. So now let's continue writing that. The first one is task. It was task, and so we're going to set it to request dot data dot get. So we'll get the new task, which is going to be updated. So the task is going to be updated, and also we're going to update the completion status. So we're going to see whether it's completed. Also, don't forget about the comma. So again, request dot data and dot get here for the completion or completed here as it's been named, and then comma, and in the end we're going to have the user. So here the user doesn't need to give this to us because we already know it. This is actually obvious from the user ID. So the user, when the user sends the request, we're going to understand the ID of the user, so we have that data and we don't need to get it from that user. So we have the data that is updated by the user. So the next step is to serialize it, just as always. So here we're going to again create a new variable, and then to do serializer, is a function that we use, and then instead of it, serializer dot data. So let me check. Oh no, this is actually instance equals. So we don't have the data that is serialized. So first of all, we need the instance, which equals to to-do list, to-do instance actually. So the to-do instance that we got, to-do instance, and then we're going to have the data equals to data, and also we're going to have partial equals to true. And so here we have the data serialized. And now, just as what we did in the post function, we're going to check if the serializer is valid. So if serializer, so we're checking the validation, and the function is underline valid. There we go. So we have the if statement. And if it is valid, we're going to save the serializer, and this is just the same as posting the update to our database. And then we're going to return the response for that. Return response, and so the response is the OK response. So it's going to be the serializer, the data, and then we're going to write status equals to status dot, and this is HTTP 200, which is OK again. And so here, if this does not happen, actually, we do not use else here, if you have noticed. So if this happens, then we're going to have this kind of response, and so we'll not get to here. So in this kind of writing our framework, we do not need else. So we return a response if that does not happen. So this is a bad request. So here we're going to say serializer.errors, serializers.error, and errors actually. So it is not serializers. Be careful about the names. This is a bit confusing, but it's not a very big deal. If you forget the names, you can check it. So here it was serializers, and we imported the errors. So status equals to status, and then we have dot HTTP, and this HTTP is 400 because it's a bad request again. So let's find it. It's 400 and it's a bad request. Okay, so this is an error. So we have our update function completed. So we're going to go after our delete function. So now let's write our delete function. So this is very easy and easier than the other ones. So it gets exactly the same attributes, self, and here we had request, and so let me copy them all and put it inside of here. There we go. So, and the first step of delete is just the same as get and also update. So we're going to check, we're going to get the to-do instance, and then we're going to check whether it exists. And if it does not exist, we will send this status, which is 400 bad request, and we will let the user know that the object with the given to-do ID does not exist. So let me just paste it over here. And so there we go. Oh, it seems that we haven't copied that. So let me do it again. Copy and paste it over here. There we go. So now the next step is to, so if it does exist, we're going to delete it. So we're going to write the to-do instance dot delete, and once we delete this instance, we're going to return another response, and this response is written in the same format. So let me fix this and also this one. But what we're going to write as a response is a bit different. So we're going to write to-do instance has been successfully deleted. And here instead we're going to write HTTP 200 OK. So now that's it. We've already completed all of the functions and the classes we need for our views.py, and it's been a very long one, but this is the main and the most important part, because here we have defined all the functions related to all of the different operations we do on our database. These are all of the requests, get, post, and put and delete. All of the HTTP requests or the requests that we need inside of our REST framework. So let us just have a quick review. So instead of the post, we didn't have any data to query. So we had the data, we would get the data from the user, and then we would serialize it and see if it is valid. So then we would just, if it is valid, we would just send the creation request status and also the serialized data, and otherwise we would have returned the status 400 bad request. And so what we did in the next one was in the next class was the get request, and we would get the to-do ID and the request.user.id. So the user would request for the data, and then if it didn't exist, we would have given this 400 bad request and also the message of the response. And then if it existed, we would serialize data and then return the response accordingly. Also, we had the get object, which is now important here. I've explained it in the last video. And here we had the put data. We did exactly the same as getting the data, but then we also, because we wanted to update, we would get the attributes of our data. So here it was task and completion, and also we got the user ID from the request, the person who has requested. And so these are the new data that are going to be updated, and we will serialize them, check the validation of serialization, and then return the response accordingly. Also, we did the same for the delete, with the difference that we deleted the instance and then we returned the response accordingly, which was the instance has been deleted and the status, which is okay. So that's it for this part of the video. In the next one, we're going to run it and see what happens.